Okay. Good morning, homeschool homies. It's me, Melissa, again, and I am here with the amazing Glenda Durano. If you do not know Glenda, I mean, you guys are missing out. She is one of my favorite people. She is just, I don't even know. Like, there are not enough adjectives to describe how like amazing you are because you're just like joy. Like just every time I get to see you or meet with you or talk with you, I just feel like joyful. So she is one, just an incredible woman. She's got an incredible story and testimony about just like what God has brought her through and her family through. So if you ever have a chance to check her books out or her speaking engagements out, I highly encourage you to do that because you'll be greatly encouraged. But also, she is just an amazing asset to the homeschooling community. So a lot of times in high school, you have like, guidance counselors or things like that to kind of help you pick your career or pick your college. And in homeschooling, you might go, well, gee, I wish we had that. Well, we do. And it's Glenda. She has a company, College Advisory and Planning Services, and she helps homeschoolers find colleges. And she helps them navigate that whole process. And so if you have a high schooler, if you have a senior, and even younger, really, I mean, I guess even like junior high, if you have those rare kids that actually know what they want to do other than play Minecraft all day, Glenda is there to help you. So she can really come alongside your family and your student and kind of show you what options are available to you and kind of get you on the right path. So Glenda, thank you so much for joining us this morning for this interview. I so appreciate it. And I'll stop talking and let you start talking. So can you share with us about your company and what it is that you do?
Sure. So I'm a certified educational planner and an independent education consultant, and my company's name is College Advising and Planning Services. I'm the only full-time education consultant in New Mexico, and it's a really rigorous process. But basically, what you do, there's a lot of standards and principles that you agree to adhere to when you belong to these professional organizations. But I just help families navigate the college planning process. And unfortunately, it is very confusing, especially now. It's an extremely confusing. And when people don't get their questions answered, it becomes this huge stressful thing. And in my opinion, college planning should not be this time of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It should be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It should be a time of great anticipation, not anxiety. So depending on what the family wants, and that's key because it's very, very custom. It may just be they want test prep. The student may be trying to decide on maybe what kind of career path. They may want a list of colleges. They may want to know, now, what should I do when I visit schools? They may want to say, how do I create a homeschool transcript? All those different things, I will help with whatever I'm running into right now here, now that the pandemic is kind of, strange place. I'm running into a lot of juniors going into their senior year where it's kind of like, I had my essay written and I kind of have a list. And so it's like, okay, well, here's your missing piece here and here's your missing piece here. So let's do it because, of course, college applications open on August 1st. So we need to get everything in order. And I do everything from just a little bit to the whole thing. It's a process. It's a process.
It's amazing. And you help with, like you said, like with everything, but do you just do homeschoolers or do you help?
Oh gosh, no. Oh no. I work with a lot of students who go to private public schools. I work with students overseas and students who need somebody that they can text almost any time of night or email or call and say, gosh, I'm thinking about this, or I have this problem, or I don't understand this on the Common application or the Coalition application. And we will have walked through it, but I'm basically just here to answer questions. And people say, well, gosh, can't I do that myself? Of course you can. This is not rocket science. No, it's just, it really
Feels like
isn't.
rocket science. It
It
does.
feels like it, but it's just that I do it every day. So I'll do it faster.
Yeah.
I'll do it more efficiently. I won't make the mistakes. And so that's
And
why
you already know
people,
the steps. Like we're not
oh
having
my,
to, Google each step. Like we can,
every
you are
single
the
day.
Google.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I will talk about this because I've written several books, and one of the books that just came out this year is called College Planning for Christians: Finding Your Fit Without Losing Your Faith. And literally, it is because one day I'm going to retire, but literally it walks, it walks you through the process. Really, it's not like, oh, this is such a fascinating read. It is literally do this, do this,
Step by
do
step
this.
guide.
And it's kind of all of my years of experience there, because I'd love for people to be able to continue on without the stress when I decide
Yeah.
to, kind of pull back.
And this is such a stressful process for kids. And I think, like you said, especially now during the pandemic, because there's been so much like just kind of canceled or, so much up in the air. Like kids have missed SAT tests and ACTs and all that stuff. And so they're going to be able to come to you, and you're going to be able to help navigate through kind of like this chaos and kind of bring a calm to the storm. And I know that you help with a lot, like even like resume help. I had a friend of mine go to you, and she used your services to get her into nursing school, and she got on the first try. And I'm not saying it's because of Glenda, but coincidence, I don't know. But you do really kind of help make the process more seamless and less stressful.
Thank you. Yeah,
So
it's just that I do it every day, and I pretty much know. And when there's not a pandemic, I visit 30 schools a year, and so I actually get onto the campuses, find out what the admissions reps need, find out what they want from their students. And so we pass on that information so that the school can determine whether or not that student is a good fit, because that's really what it comes down to.
yeah.
It's not about a great school, because there are thousands of great schools. I've never met a school I didn't like, but it really is about the fit. And that's the hard thing in the pandemic now, because people are saying, well, I can't visit schools. But boy, I'll tell you what, the schools have upped their virtual experiences. You can still call those admissions officers. You can ask them questions. So there are definitely things that you can do. If you think about it this way, we've never had something like this happen, but that means there are some great opportunities out there to do some really creative things. So we shouldn't let it scare us. We should just say, you know what, I'm going to go out there and forge ahead and do what I need to do.
Well, and I think it's really interesting too, how you're saying like finding the right fit. I think a lot of students kind of go into it having like a specific school in mind that they want to go to, and then maybe it's not a good fit, and then they don't succeed, and then they either drop out of college or they lose scholarships, or, they end up in debt financial aid wise or whatever. And so finding that good fit could actually be like a huge success factor, right? So that you're not going through that process.
Right. And so one of the first things I do, a lot of times I'll talk to students. You don't have to know what you're going to major in, but we like to discern interests. But there's so many, I talk to students usually about 30 or 40 different criteria, as well as their parents. And one of them, of course, is cost and everything. But the thing is when you start kind of saying, here's my criteria, now let me find some schools that actually match that criteria, you're much more likely not only to be happy at the school, find a good match, be able to study things, but see, the schools will want you. And when a school wants you, that's when they're more likely to offer, either you can call them scholarships or tuition discounts, whatever you want to call it. But that's the way of really trying to, of really finding something that can become affordable, as opposed to having this idea of this school where it's just not going to work for you. And they see that you're not a good fit for them, and they're not a good fit for you. So they really don't want you to come. So, and that's okay, because there are
so there's going to be a different school that does want you
out there. When a door is closed, another one is open. So walk, just do it. Yeah.
So can I ask a couple questions? There's been a couple questions that have come up in the home, in the community, especially with new parents joining homeschooling. And one of those questions is, a lot of parents are thinking they're just going to have to homeschool for this year, just get through this year. And so especially in high school, that can be tricky to leave public school for a year and then come back. So they're worried about credits. what can a homeschooler do, or what can a student do that is going to homeschool for a year to stay on track for graduation?
Yeah, that's a great question. We know if you go to the New Mexico Department of Education or even the Albuquerque Public Schools and look at graduation requirements, it's listed there, and you can say, okay, here's what I've taken, here's what I've not taken, here's what I'm going to take. So you can do that, but I think what a lot of people wonder is if we home educate for 1 year and I do decide to go back to public or private school afterwards, am I going to have to take all those classes
Yeah.
over again? And boy, I wish I could give a definitive answer on that, but unfortunately, it depends on the counselor, on the principal, and on the individual school. Now, one thing a lot of times that will help circumvent that potential problem is if you take it from an accredited organization, for example, an online university, an online high school that is accredited. CNM is a great opportunity because they know that. And what the school is doing when they say, oh, I see you home educated biology 1, well, we can't take that, so you're going to have to take biology 1 over again. What the high school is doing is saying, we expect our students to graduate with a certain amount of mastery in a subject, and we don't know, we aren't familiar with that book that you use, so we don't know, so we can't vouch for you. And so they're protecting themselves. It's really kind of a catch-22. But if you're really concerned about that, I would say try to find an accredited organization, and I would say CNM is a great choice here, because there you can even do dual credit, which I know you've talked about, and other organizations get credit for the high school, get credit for the college, you know, and go ahead and take those. Unfortunately, there is not a definitive answer on that. But, you know, you may find out that with the freedom and the flexibility and the ability to pursue your interests and really explore things, you may find out that homeschooling is for you.
We might just suck you into the dark side full time.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so let's say that that does happen, that they realize that homeschooling is the best thing since sliced bread. What do they need to do to graduate in New Mexico and be eligible for, say, like the lottery scholarship at UNM?
Okay, so in order to graduate, they, again, going back to those pages, they have to take your 4 years of math, your 4 years of English, or, you know, and that's listed literally on that page. And but here's the thing, and this is a little bit off, is there's a big difference between graduating from high school and getting into college, because, for example, in New Mexico, I believe in order to graduate, 2 years of foreign language is required, and that's one of the requirements that a lot of times people kind of go, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Homeschoolers, okay. But sometimes some universities will require 3 years in order to get in. New Mexico used to have, and I could be wrong on this, Melissa, but New Mexico used to have only a 3-year math requirement. I believe they've changed it to 4 now, because schools in Texas, even every single public university in Texas required 4 years. And if you were from New Mexico, you had to sign a waiver and say, I think I'm going to be okay. And so New Mexico's trying to, you know, come up with the same requirements. So all you've got to do, what you've got to do is you've got to take the classes. You'll have to take the standardized tests. Oh gosh, there's so many different little things. If you want to be eligible for the lottery scholarship, you will need to take a standardized test, or even the bridge scholarship. So you'll need to take that. ACT is a minimum of 23 in order to get that. I normally recommend that students take those tests in their junior year as early as possible, but after they've taken Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. And then they also have to take what's called the GED, but they don't have to take immediately. There have been some rule changes with that, but that is the graduate, what is it? Graduate something diploma, graduate education diploma, I don't know, something like that. But anyway, you take a test through New Mexico, and you don't need that to get into UNM, but you do need it to have access to lottery scholarship money. And a lot of homeschoolers do not take that test exam, because only about maybe 15% of the schools nationwide actually require that. Most universities, as you go out, they are perfectly accepting of homeschoolers. You will not have a problem getting into college if you home educate, as long as you have your transcript, can prove the classes that the student has taken. But you really do, even if a school is what they call, a university is what they call test optional. For homeschoolers, most of the time they do require SAT and ACT tests, because homeschool has a lot of different standards. So a lot of times you have to do that. But just anecdotally, when my one daughter went up to interview at UPenn, which is an Ivy League, the first thing, the admissions rep, the lady came out of her office and she said, "Oh my gosh, I love homeschoolers. They know how to learn."
That's awesome.
So a lot of people are recognizing that home education is a very, very beneficial way to go. And I'm sorry if I sound like I'm selling it, because not everyone should homeschool. Not everyone should. But for those of you who can, it is the biggest privilege to pour into your children and to launch them properly. It's great.
That's awesome. Thank you, Glenda. Thanks for all that information. And you guys, if you have more questions, I know that this was like a very brief, just 30,000 feet kind of thing, but that's when you reach out to Glenda and you go, I need to know more. And she does. She knows the ins and outs of the system, and she's going to be able to help answer all those hard questions, the complicated questions, and just kind of bring some ease to your mind and kind of alleviate the stress from the situation. So if you have more questions, we'll leave Glenda's contact in the comments, and reach out to her and utilize this amazing resource that we have in this community. Not everyone has a Glenda, and so we are so fortunate that we do here in New Mexico. So Glenda, thank you so much for just taking the time to talk with us this morning. We so appreciate it. And thank you for all you do for the homeschooling community, because you are a treasure to us. We really are.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.